Logan, Layman, Critic here. I rarely do reviews for shows, but for today's animation appreciation, I will be giving a critique of Legendary Armor Samurai Troopers, or as it's better known in its Western adaptation, Ronin Warriors. Just a fair warning, there will be a bit of spoilers. The basic premise is that 5 young men each possess magical samurai armor imbued with a particular virtue and element that they represent. The story is set in the then-present era of the 1980s, where they must combat the forces of an ancient demon named Arago. The series consists of 2 major story arcs stretching across 39 episodes. I think that's the biggest drawback to Samurai Troopers. Maybe it's because I binge watched it, but I found the show tended to drag a lot. There were 2 mini arcs bridging the 2 big story arcs that were unnecessary, in my opinion. They could have easily been cut out, and no one would have been the wiser. And the main stories themselves really could have been told in 2 or 3 movies. More than once, I found myself zoning out during episodes. I think 2 things contributed to this problem. One was the overuse of stock footage, specifically the armor transformation scenes. Now, I'm not opposed to stock footage. It can be quite charming, and oftentimes stock footage is what kind of helps make a series iconic. But these run too long and appear far too often in this particular case. The other problem is with the character of Gio. I found him to be rather bland, and I really wish that they would have spent more time exploring the other troopers. Seiji is my personal favorite of the bunch, and the early episodes do give him a decent amount of screen time. And the latter episodes, I would say, also give Toma stuff to do. But the show really seems to revolve around Gyo, and he doesn't have much personality, unfortunately. But on the plus side, Dio has an awesome white tiger for a pet called White Blaze. He's one of the best things about the show, and I love that he's a constant throughout. Another character I really liked was Chetan. In fact, he might be my favorite of all the characters. Actually, I would say he is my favorite character. He starts off as a bad guy who's later redeemed and reformed as an ally. I love the design of his armor, and he had a cool weapon. When he goes over to the good guys, he ditches both of those things for most of the series, but he does get them back toward the end, except for his helmet and mask, which is the best part. I mean, they should have kept that. They should have kept the helmet. Like, they have the transformation where he transforms into his armor and gets his weapon. He gets the helmet and he puts it on, but then it disappears and turns back into like his regular. It's like, oh man, seriously, that was like it was so cool. Like, why did they get rid of that? It was a great part of the costume. I wish they. Yeah. Anyway, the side characters of Nasty and June, they're kind of pointless. I mean, Nasty is a brain, and she does some research for the troopers, but she and the kid are otherwise just characters in need of protection or rescue, or both. Arago is he's kind of generic for a villain. I like his design, but his underlings are much more interesting characters. The warlords, they all have this prideful rivalry, and each wants to be the one who destroys the samurai troopers. They have unique looking armor and abilities. Another character, Badamon, like a demon sorcerer who rallies the nether spirits for Arago, and he sort of takes precedence in the later episodes as a threat, but there's not much to his character. Then there's Kayura, a warrior who's under the influence of Arago and Badamon. Apart from the warlords, she's the most interesting of the villains and gets the most character development, with the exception of Chetan. Some of her voice work is iffy in spots. Her laugh sounds really, really bad. It's like, it's so fake. It doesn't sound. It's not good acting. Like the voice acting for that show is pretty solid for the most part, but that's like cringy. But she does have some cool weapons, and I like her character design. She sort of looks like Yuri from Dirty Pair, but dressed like a skimpy ninja. Um, I do like the character designs for samurai troopers. Everyone has a distinctive look to them. The troopers themselves, they seem to be borrowing from the Super Sentai mold, in that they are a team of color-coded fighters, but the armors aren't generic. The helmets have their own designs. They have different shapes. There's differing numbers of horns and the size and shape of the horns, stuff like that. The only armor design I didn't care for was the white armor, the Inferno armor, and it's supposed to be the greatest and the most powerful, and it should be the coolest armor, but it's not. It just seems too loud. I think it needed to be a little bit. They needed to keep it more simple in its look. It's too futuristic looking and not feudal enough. It reminds me of something Mega Man X would be wearing. I also think the Warlord Rajura, his armor is kind of lame. It is lame. It's like a magenta color and with it's like blades sticking out like bug legs, and it's just dumb. The characters and his powers are cool, but his whole look really kills a lot of that. But what about the animation? Well, apart from the overabundance of stock use, I really can't complain too much. The action is exciting and epic. I love the battles with Chetan and Kayura. Those scenes are the standouts, in my opinion. The atmosphere is dark and moody, and you've got these desolate cityscapes where the characters are venturing with dark skies looming overhead. You got this huge entrance gate to the netherworld that's imposing and foreboding, and yeah, it's cool stuff. Then there's the music. It's metal. I mean, it's very 80s, I'll grant you, but it works. It fits. It adds a lot to the show's atmosphere and gives it its edge. The end themes, they're the sort of typical light, happy fare you'd find in anime of the decade. It's an odd contrast, but it didn't really bother me that much because it's just the end credits of the show. But there you go. Legendary Armor, Samurai Troopers. It's not without its flaws, but it is entertaining. I would recommend, if you watch it, to pace yourself. There's also a couple of movies, which I may review in the future, so stay tuned. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, fellas, take care.